She bullied me in high school for being adopted. Guess who's processing her adoption application now? I recognized Jessica Taylor the moment she walked into my office at Family Services. Same perfectly highlighted blonde hair, same condescending smile, same way of looking down at people even when sitting. She didn't recognize me at first. I'd lost 40 pounds since high school, gotten contacts, and traded thrift store clothes for professional attire. But I remembered every cruel word she'd said about me being a throwaway kid whose real parents didn't want me. I'm here to discuss my adoption application, she said, setting her designer purse on my desk like she owned the place. I introduced myself as Sarah Chen from Adoption Services, watching her face for recognition. Nothing. To her, I was just another government worker, beneath her notice. The same way she'd treated me 15 years ago when she made my life hell for 4 straight years. I pulled up her file. Jessica Taylor, 32, married to Ryan Taylor, household income $180,000, seeking to adopt an infant after failed fertility treatments. Her application looked perfect on paper, which made what I was about to discover even more interesting. She launched into her rehearsed story about adoption being her calling, wanting to give a child love and opportunities. I nodded sympathetically while remembering how she'd told everyone adopted kids were damaged goods and probably from drug addicts. As part of standard process, I conducted background interviews with people who'd known her throughout life. I started with high school years, calling Westfield High. Mrs. Patterson, our old guidance counselor, was still there and remembered Jessica vividly. Oh yes, Jessica Taylor. She was quite cruel to other students, several incidents involving a girl she tormented about being adopted. I kept my voice neutral, asking for details. Mrs. Patterson described how Jessica made my life miserable junior year, spreading rumors that my birth parents were criminals, telling people I was lucky any family took me in, vandalizing my locker with unwanted. The school disciplined her multiple times, but her parents threatened lawsuits, so punishments were minimal. The background check revealed more disturbing patterns. Her college roommate described Jessica as manipulative and vindictive toward anyone beneath her. A former coworker mentioned how Jessica got a colleague fired by spreading false rumors. Her own sister, listed as a character reference, let slip that Jessica sometimes has trouble controlling her temper, especially when she doesn't get what she wants. During our second meeting, I asked Jessica directly about high school. Any conflicts with other students? Disciplinary issues? She waved it off dismissively. Just typical teenager stuff. Nothing serious. I pressed further. Nothing involving adopted students or comments about adoption? Her face flickered with annoyance. Why would that matter? That was 15 years ago. I pulled out her high school disciplinary records, requested as part of the background check. According to these documents, you were suspended twice for harassment of a classmate regarding her adoption status, multiple warnings for verbal abuse and bullying behavior. Jessica's perfect composure cracked. That girl was oversensitive. It wasn't bullying, just joking around. Joking around? I read from Mrs. Patterson's report. You told Sarah Chen she was unwanted trash, whose birth parents probably threw her away like garbage. You organized students to exclude her from activities and spread rumors about her family history. This continued for 2 years despite school interventions. Jessica's face went white as she realized who I was. Sarah Chen, she whispered, staring with dawning horror. You're that girl from high school. I smiled pleasantly and continued reviewing her file. The state requires adoptive parents demonstrate consistent empathy, kindness, and respect for children who've experienced trauma. Your documented history of targeting an adopted child raises serious concerns about your suitability. She tried backtracking, claiming she'd grown and changed, was young and stupid, had learned from mistakes, but I'd already decided based on evidence. I recommended denial of her adoption application, citing concerns about her documented pattern of cruelty toward vulnerable children and inability to take responsibility for harmful behavior. The irony wasn't lost on me. Jessica had spent years telling me I was unwanted and would never amount to anything. Now I was protecting other vulnerable children from experiencing the same cruelty she'd inflicted on me. Her desperate desire for a child would be denied, partly because of how she'd treated a child who'd already experienced loss and abandonment. 6 months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that Jessica and Ryan had divorced. The adoption denial sent her into a spiral of blame and rage that destroyed their marriage. She'd tried appealing the decision, but documentation was too thorough, the pattern too clear. The system I'd once felt failed to protect me had finally worked exactly as it should. I never felt guilty about my decision. Every adopted child deserves parents who understand their unique needs, who treat all children with compassion, who've demonstrated kindness rather than cruelty. Jessica had shown me exactly who she was as a teenager, and people rarely change as fundamentally as they claim. Sometimes the universe has perfect sense of justice, and sometimes you get to be the instrument of that justice.